All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, before I get started, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rachahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth and rule well. Peace and blessings unto the hopeful elect, pushing his word throughout the four corners of the earth in truth, righteousness, and sincerity. To you I say shalom. This is the brother Yeshaya coming at you again through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. Back again with another lesson. And this one's going to be entitled Dehumanization for Criminalization. All right, Dehumanization for Criminalization. All right, and this is a technique that Esau's, using in order to really come down on Jake and to get the masses to back him up on this campaign of persecution and pretty much casting blame upon the tribes, right? Because now Esau is painting Jake as that new face of terror, right? First it was what, the war on terrorism, then the war on the war on drugs, the war on terrorism, and now really Esau is just coming out, and declaring war on Jake. It started with the Northern Kingdom, and now you see in the shift starting to come down upon Southern Kingdom, right? By through Donald Trump bringing out these what they call them, the National Guard into these blue states, right? Or democratic states, democratic cities. He already did it to Washington D.C. I should say, and now he's talking about going over to Chirac, Chicago, L.A., all these blue cities to pretty much crack down on crime. But when you look at social media, when you look at some of these reports that they're bringing up, there's always Jake at the forefront as being the ones committing the crimes, right? The gang violence, the drugs, the rapes, the murders, all these things. They're pretty much pinning it on Jake as being the face of all of it, which we understand that really, there are some wicked of our people that's doing these things, but when you really look at it, it's really Esau that's out here committing these mass shootings, these school shootings, all these pedophile rings, and pretty much all these crimes. A lot of them are committed by Edomites, but they don't want to talk about that, right? The blame is being shifted onto Jake because ultimately we're entering into a time, as it's spoken about in let me get that real quick. Jeremiah 30, and I have a video and just a picture I want to show as well. But before we get that, let's get Jeremiah 30 and verse 7. It says, as a matter of fact, let's start at verse 5. As a matter of fact, 4. Jeremiah 30 and 4. And these are the words that the Lord Yahweh spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah, right, northern and southern kingdom, all 12 tribes. Verse 5. For thus saith the Lord, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. You see? So this is the time that we're coming into, a time of trembling and a time of fear, not of peace, right? Ain't no, beautiful times coming, right? Ain't no good times coming. Ain't nothing but bad times, harsh times, evil times, right? But verse 6, it says, ask ye now, and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. Right? 'Cause that's how bad it's going to get. You're going to see men out here crying, weeping, right? Just like as a woman that's in travail, a woman that's about to give birth, over here screaming, crying, over here in the corner somewhere, right? That's exactly what we're going to see in these last days, man. All hope, being gone. We really just hope in the system, because those that believe in Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, our hope is going to be increased, while the hope of this people in this world is going to be decreased. But continuing on, it says, verse 7, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. You see, so we're entering into this time called Jacob's trouble, right? A time period where Jake is going to be persecuted. Pretty much Esau is going to let all you know, his tricks out the bag. He's going to sharpen that sword, you know, and it's going to be, let loose, to take out 2/3 of our people. In the book of Daniel, the 12th chapter, in the first verse, it goes into how bad it's going to get. Daniel 12:1, and at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as was never since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time, thy people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book. Talking about the elect, just as we read in Jeremiah 30:7, right? Those that are going to be saved out of it are the elect. You see? But it's going to be so bad that Michael, the archangel, is going to have to stand up and fight for his people. You see? Fight for the nation of Israel, mainly the elect. Because as we know, all these things that's coming upon the earth is going to take the wicked of our people. But it ain't going to touch the elect. I mean, even though there's some of us that are going to be beheaded for being martyrs, and be made martyrs for the name of Yahweh Shah, we understand that as a whole, the elect are going to be delivered on the return of our Lord Yahweh Shah. You see? But this is the time that we're coming into, man. We're seeing the devil start sharpening that sword and prepare to come down with that wrath, right? Pursuant to Revelation, let me get that. Revelation 12:12. It says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. You see? So that wrath, is being shown. He's setting the stage for him to be justified in coming down upon you tribes with that great wrath, with the sword, bringing the ICE agents, National Guard troops, right? And just unleashing hell upon you tribes. You see? But this is all because the word is out here. He knows that he has a short time. He knows Yahweh Shah is on his way, and this man is terrified. He's scared. So he's trying to run a Hail Mary, hoping that, he can, win. But as we know, this man is scheduled for demolition. His rulership is scheduled for demolition, and there's nothing that he can do about it, right? His time is up, and we got next. See, so this is things that we gotta, keep in mind and hope for in these days that we're in, seeing our enemy fall, and have hope and salvation, right? But as we understand, this is gonna come regardless, because there's wicked of our people that just are not gonna get right. They're just not gonna try to do what it takes to receive that protection, right? But let me get this from the AI overview, because like I said in the title is Dehumanization for Criminalization, right? And this is exactly what he's doing right now. So it says, dehumanization is used to justify criminalization by removing moral and ethic inhibitions against mistreatment, allowing authorities to frame specific groups as inherently dangerous. Inherently dangerous. And how is he doing that? By calling the Northern Kingdom a bunch of cartel members, rapists, criminals, thugs, right? And pretty much painting us in that certain narrative, right? But then even also Southern Kingdom, making them be dangerous, or they're violent, they're angry, right? They're savages. They all they are gang members, thugs, and drug dealers, right? But it says, and that they're violent. They can't control their emotions. They get violent so fast, right? But it says, by treating an entire group as less than human, policymakers can implement oppressive policies, as we see now, right? They're trying to implement new policies, new laws and legislation to justify themselves in doing what they're going to do, right? And really coming down upon the tribes. But it says, and deny individual basic rights without public backlash, right? And you see the MAGers, they're right behind Trump, right? They're happy to see you Jakes getting jacked up, getting arrested, getting killed, death penalty. You see? And Donald Trump is giving them that, right? But it says how dehumanization leads to criminalization, moral disengagement. Dehumanization is a psychological process that enables moral disengagement, where a person or group's actions are deemed outside the realm of morality. This technique creates a false justification for targeting certain groups with harsh and discriminatory laws, right? By them saying white lives matter, right? Them saying, uh, pretty much putting up certain statistics of, as a matter of fact, I got one right here, right, right here, right? This is what they're saying. This is what they're claiming. It says 59,000 white on black violent crimes. And then they're saying 547,000 black on white violent crimes. So it says adjusted for population size, black people commit violent crimes against white people at a rate of 41 times that of the reverse. You see? So stuff like this is what they're using to justify the fact that Jake is a savage. Jake is an animal. Jake is just a brute beast out here just creating all kinds of violence, right? But really, when you look at the true numbers, um, I ended up looking it up. Let me see if I can pull it back up. So it says, furthermore, more recent data indicates 53% of those arrested for violent crimes were white, while 25% were black and 14% were Hispanic. These statistics highlight the importance of examining the intricate connections between race, socioeconomic factors, crime, and policying through a disaggregated lens. Right. So this is what they're pushing, though, right? They're pushing a false narrative that, you know, you tribes, you so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, are a terror in America, right? That you are these violent, crazy people on a rampage that need to be stopped, right? Y'all need to be arrested. Y'all need special laws. Y'all need all this and that, right? Y'all need alligator Alcatraz and, be put in these internment centers and, be re-educated because y'all are not, how would they say it? Y'all are not a moral citizen, right? Y'all are not uh, good for the community, right? So that's why when you see them talk about immigration, a lot of these Edomites, they back it up, even though they see, them coming up into Jake communities and just snatching Jake up without no due process. These Americans, these Edomites, they're for it. You see? I mean, it all goes back to them having that hatred towards us, but also the fact that the top elite are sensationalizing uh, these points. They're just adding more fuel to the fire. But continuing on in this AI overview, it says reduced empathy. When people are viewed as subhuman, for example, by calling immigrants illegal, the public is less likely to feel empathy for them. Right? Dehumanizing them. Right? Putting certain key phrases or key words uh, to try to, or using certain key phrases and keywords to lessen the uh, the moral view that the people have against certain classes of people, right? Excuse me. But it says the public is less likely to feel empathy for them. This erosion of empathy makes it easier for politicians and systems to justify oppressive actions like family separation or the denial of due process. So it says racial bias in the justice system. In the U.S. justice system, studies show racial bias results of people of color being treated as more criminal or dangerous. You know, and Esau really has a natural fear against Jake. You know what I'm saying? That's the reason why uh, Esau loves to dehumanize us, put us down, make us inferior, because ultimately he understands that we're the superior race. He understands that we're better in every aspect. The only reason is because he's in power right now, and he don't want nothing, uh, uh, pretty much coming up against him, you know, on that, because he knows what happened in the Dark Ages, right? He had Rome, but what happened? He lost it, and then we were in power and we ruled and did so much great things, but he don't want us to remember that. That's the reason why in Job 9:24 it talks about him, you know, he changes the faces of the judges thereof, right? Meaning he painted himself in the likeness of the Israelites, right? Or he painted the likeness of the Israelites to himself. Even the Most High, Yahweh Shah, the angels, right? That's why you know you have this white Jesus, this white God, this white angels, right? But really, the true image is supposed to be of a dark skin complexion. But anyway, moving on. Um, Let me go down. Okay, it says language and labels. Negative terminology and labels are a key tool for dehumanization. Terms like felon, and that's something that Donald Trump likes to use, right? Felon, convict, addict, illegal. Is to strip individuals of their identity, calling our people, what do they call them, criminals, calling them rapists, calling them traffickers, and all this and that, right? It says they strip individuals of their identity and reduce them to a single characteristic, making it easier to ignore their humanity and justify long-term punishments. It also says focus on the individual, not the root cause, right? And that's exactly what they're doing. They're focusing on a group of people. They're not focusing on what the root cause is. Because when you look at the root cause, you will see that Esau is the root cause. But it says dehumanizing narratives frame societal problems, such as poverty or addiction, as moral failings of the individual rather than systemic issues. Right, Habakkuk 2:15. Right, how he pretty much puts the bottle to his neighbor, or gives his neighbor to drink. Right. Ultimately, Esau gave us black culture, gave us Christianity, gave us all these things that we have in this world, you know, in Esau's world, and that has ultimately destroyed the minds of Jake, has created, you know, niggas, right? But it says this shift in focus makes criminalizing people instead of addressing root causes like a lack of housing or healthcare seem like a more palatable solution, right? Because when you look at the Jake communities, Jake is through, man. Jake don't have certain resources like Edomites have. But at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying, we understand that our Lord Yahweh shines on his way, right? The solution is coming. All we gotta do is be patient and wait, you know? As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and jump into these precepts. And I have a video too. I'll play that after I get this precept. But this is let's get Revelation 12 and 10. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength in the kingdom of our power and the power of his anointed. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our power day and night. Right? And this is what this man has done. Bring railing accusations against the people of the Lord. Right? I mean, he also brings accusations before the Lord, because we sin and, what I'm saying, do all manner of wickedness. Esau likes to, use his priests on the left hand side to, you know, bring those accusations before the Lord. But also, he likes to, he's also accusing us before the face of the whole world as being these criminals, being these thugs, being these rapists, and, what I'm saying, being pretty much the problem of society, right? And that something has to be done with us, right? Now, let me see. Let me go ahead and play this video.
All right, the Department of Homeland Security now launching a new operation called Midway Blitz to target criminal illegal migrants across Illinois. This is happening right now as we speak. The operation is in honor of Katie Abraham, who was only 20 years old when she and her friend were killed by a drunk driver in a hit-and-run crash earlier this year. Police say the illegal migrant facing charges for the fatal crash was arrested in Texas trying to flee to Mexico. The Guatemalan native is also accused of possessing fake documents, including a passport and social security card. Joining me now to discuss is Chicago reporter William Kelly. William, good morning. It's great to see you. So what is happening in Chicago right now that wasn't happening, say, 3 weeks ago?
Well, it's great to see you, Carly. And yes, it's great to have Homeland Security in the city of Chicago. And, I've, as a lifelong Chicagoan, I love Chicago. I'm not a Chicago basher, but I've been kind of hoping for Homeland Security every weekend for as long as I can remember now. There's, there's this tragic case of this woman who was killed by apparently an illegal hit and run drunk driver. There are hit and runs in 100 a day in the city of Chicago. I was the victim of a hit and run driver who fled the scene. And when you try to find out what his status is, or if there's going to be any charges, it's they just treat it as an accident. And this is not the way. This is why we have this breakdown of law and order in the city of Chicago, Carly.
Yeah, it's not the way to keep people safe. So President Trump wants to do just that. He's weighing sending the National Guard to Chicago. Here he was yesterday. Listen here.
You try and reason with them, and it's like you're talking to a wall. It's just doesn't. I assume it's just a political ideology. They're not stupid people, and we'd love to go into Chicago and straighten it out.
Do you think troops are going to be sent in?
Well, it's really interesting, Carly, because Governor Pritzker, who has presidential ambitions, and Mayor Johnson, they use the National Guard to protect their DNC guests. If you recall, just a very short period.
All right. Anyway, that's pretty much it. You know what I'm saying? So, Trump is going to try to use troops to come down on the crime and illegals over in Chicago, right? But like as you saw, who was there as the face of this problem, right? It was Jake, Northern Kingdom, right? Probably Issachar or one of the Latin tribes, but pretty much being used as a reason to come down with National Guards. It's like, nah, this is getting out of hand. We gotta put a stop to these illegals. We gotta, what I'm saying, it's just, the rhetoric they like to push out there. But again, this is all set up to bring in Jacob's trouble. Really, we're in Jacob's trouble, right? Which is why more reason for you Jakes that's listening to repent, turn back to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, right? Because the times that we're coming in, Esau is going to release that sword. He's going to show no mercy. Right? That sword is sharpened, man. You see? And let me get this, because like I mentioned, Esau he's going to use that sword, right? But not knowing that this is all through the Most High, right? The Most High is using Esau to bring punishment onto 2/3 of our people. This is Psalm 17 and 13. It says, "Arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword." You see, the wicked are being used, or they were always used as the Most High's whooping stick against Jake. Jake would fall off, Jake would sin, Jake would, you know, backslide. And what will happen? The Most High will bring a nation, a neighboring nation, to come up against us and put us in captivity, right? And it ain't no different now. And that's what you're seeing right now. Esau sharpening that sword, as it says in Revelation 12 and 12, right? He's going to come down with that great wrath because he has a short time. And who's he going to come down on? You tribes, man. And the only protection you're going to have is the Lord. Because ultimately the Most High is using Esau. Esau's in the trick bag. Esau has these plans that he's going to try to sidestep the Lord. No, you can't do that. The Most High is controlling your ass. The fact that he has those thoughts, you know, is all the Most High's doing, right? But let me get this. Let's get Psalm 64. Psalm 64 and verse 1, it says, "Hear my voice, O power, in my prayer. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity." Right? It says, "Who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words." And that's what they're doing, man. Showing those bitter words, them railing accusations. You know, calling us the problem of society, the problem of the earth, the problem of America, right? All of a sudden, you see all these damn, you know, mass shootings, and it's always Esau that's doing it. There's always these, you know, Edomites that's over here killing droves of people, running over people, but somehow they see one, how would you call it? I can't even think of the word, but pretty much they'll see the one Jake do it, and then they'll post him on the news, you know what I'm saying, and take him to trial and throw the book at his ass and fucking bury him under the jail, but he's forever labeled as a face of terror. But here it is, these Edomites, they do even worse, kill 20, 30 people, and you know, oh, they just get locked up, and then they get brushed under the rug like nothing ever happened. You see? But this is the wicked, man. This is the enemy who we're dealing with, right? As a matter of fact, the book of Sirach tells us, you know, we always told you, Jakes, man, watch out for this devil. The Bible tells us to watch out for this devil. This is Sirach 12 and verse 10. "Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness." You see? So this man, he's always going to be the wicked. All you that thought that was his friend, all you Jakes that thought that these Edomites were your friends, you are soon to be proven wrong. This man has always had hatred for you. The only reason why he's there is because of some social constructs that have been set up, so that way, y'all put on this act that y'all liked each other. Well, Esau puts on the act that, you know, he likes you, and you know, you are equal to him, and this and that. But really, in the back of his mind, he's trying to figure out a way to take you down. As a matter of fact, it'll say it. Verse 11: "Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him." See, so this is wisdom, right? Never trust thy enemy, right? It says, though he humble himself, even though he might seem humble, right? It says, and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware him. Always watch out for this nigga, man. He don't got good intentions. It says, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust has not been altogether wiped away. Meaning, his rust is still there. Even though it might seem polished and wiped down, that rust is always going to show forth, right? Meaning, that oxidation, that hatred is always going to be there. But it says, verse 12, set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat, and thou at last remember my words, and be pricked therewith. Right? And a lot of Jakes is about to be pricked with these words, because a lot of you Jakes have trusted the devil. A lot of you Jakes have trusted these Edomites. And now we're about to see them start turning against you. Start, I don't know, selling you out. Start calling the cops on you. Right? Because we're coming into a time of great persecution. And all you that have sided with these Edomites, have chosen them to be your friends, we're about to start seeing their true colors. But it says, verse 13, who would pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or any such as come nigh wild beasts? Right, so we ain't going to pity you. Right, we warned you, we told you. All you that don't take heed to the warning, to the counsel of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, because this is the Lord speaking. Right, this is ultimately wisdom passed down. Right, because the scriptures say that these things were written aforetime, or all things that were written aforetime were written for our learning, right? So these are things we should take heed, you know, pretty much for your good, right? Because like I said, the enemy is about to reveal himself. Esau is already showing that his intention is not good towards you, right? So it says, yeah, that's pretty much it on this, right? But yeah, man, you know, that was pretty much it. That was all I had. This is exactly what's going on, right? We're about to start seeing, you know, more and more of these railing accusations, more and more of them trying to pin the blame on Jake, being the face of terror, more dehumanizing tactics, man, in order for the masses to be pretty much to be a cut, to be pretty much to reduce their compassion towards you tribes, man, right? So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close it out by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Racha Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth and rule well. Peace and blessings unto the hopeful elect, pushing his word throughout the four corners of the earth in truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Until the next time, I'm going to say Shalom. Kwam Yasha Allah.